The M1 South Highway near Gold Reef City remains closed while police comb the scene of a shootout with cash and transit robbers last night. Police say a group of heavily armed men ambushed a cash van, disarmed security guards and bombed the vehicle. The men were eventually traced and cornered on the M1 South near Booysens 3 hours after the heist. Ziniko Mhlaba is on the scene. Are you standing by to tell us what more we know this hour? Ziniko, good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you. Duduzile was still here on the AM1 South, just next to the Gold Reef City in Booysens. So the latest update right now, remember that there was a minibus taxi which has been the focus of attention throughout the morning. When we got here at about 8:30, forensics officials were busy investigating, just combing any leads they might get from that particular vehicle. So now that vehicle is about to be driven off, as we can see there in our picture. So that's the minibus I'm talking about. If you can look at the top of that particular minibus, you can see the number of bullet holes, reflecting how hectic that shootout was between law enforcement agencies and, of course, the criminals were inside that particular minibus. The original position of that minibus when we got here, it was over the bridge, because where we are right now, we're over a bridge. So if you're coming from the south of Johannesburg heading to Johannesburg CBD and the northern areas of the city, you'll understand that now this vehicle seems to have been moving all the way from the south direction heading to the north, and we understand that that's where now the shootout took place. Just passing us here is a pathology services vehicle. Another thing that we just discovered like 30 minutes ago, was that there was still a body. There's still a body on the scene. So that's another latest information we just discovered, as we see that vehicle from the pathology services assume that it's here now to attend to that body. So you can imagine how long that body has been here at the scene. Considering that this shootout took place last night in the evening, and now that body is going to be removed only now. So those are the latest information. But I can tell you right now, as far as the traffic is concerned, the scene is still active. I assume that now in the next hour or so, that's when there will be some clarity. Maybe after an hour or 30 minutes, this road will be cleared, because now the pathology services are coming in to collect that body, and the center of attention as far as the forensics are concerned, that vehicle, that minibus you see on your visuals there, is now being taken away from this particular scene. So that's the latest information. We know that, as you also highlighted in your intro, that this incident did not just start here. It started in Springs, where these criminals, or alleged criminals, successfully conducted a cash in transit heist. However, due to the intelligence from the law enforcement agencies, they were traced all the way to this particular area in the south of Johannesburg. But if you look at the cash and transit scenes, as far as they are concerned, Gauteng leads when it comes to the numbers or statistics. That's the minibus now leaving the crime scene. Look at that. Look at those bullet holes from the sides and the windows, but also at the back. So that tells you, that also reflects the gravity of the shootout. But if you look at the nature of those bullet holes, it tells you that it seems as if that vehicle was being shot at from all directions. Because remember, the first visuals we saw, we're looking at the front, and of course the windscreen was raveled with bullets. But at the back and on both sides, we still see bullet holes. So it must have been a very, very hectic shootout to Duzile from what we see. So it's not surprising that now that particular minibus taxi got to be the attention of the forensic investigations. We'll also see that pathology vehicle moving in now, reversing to collect the body. We do apologize to the viewers for those sensitive visuals in case we happen to stumble upon those visuals. But from where we are, you cannot really see the body, so that we don't we don't get to show viewers that those sensitive visuals. That's the minibus taxi being driven off, so it's done and dusted as far as the forensics here at the scene. Now, I assume the focus will be clearing the scene, especially taking that body to by the pathology services. So, back to what I was saying earlier on, to do Gauteng leads when it comes to cash in transit highs. And of course, Minister Bheki 2 months ago did mention that it seems as if it's one of those stubborn crimes that do not seem to be being defeated by law enforcement. But what we've also seen is that in recent weeks, or in just the last 4 weeks, we've seen police officers making serious inroads in terms of stopping and preventing these crimes. Remember that there was a safe house that was ambushed by SAPS members in Limpopo. And talking about Limpopo, Limpopo is also leads as one of the top 3 provinces when it comes to cash in transit highs, followed by the Eastern Cape. So it's Gauteng, the Eastern Cape, is Limpopo. Those are the problematic provinces when it comes to cash in transit here in South Africa. So it's not surprising that we're here in this particular scene in Johannesburg, in the Gauteng province, dealing and showing viewers the scene of a cash in transit heist to do. So that's the latest from us to do.
Ziniko, Mhlaba, that minibus taxi that was driven off by the police a few moments ago, is that the minibus taxi that the alleged robbers were in?
Yes, from what we understand, that some of the criminals fled from that particular vehicle, and we understand that it was the vehicle that was carrying cash, and those are not confirmed. That's not confirmed information. We were just told off camera to do so. So, but also the body, the distance of the body that we were referring to earlier on was very close to that minibus taxi. So it looked as if it was someone who was getting off the taxi, because he was lying face down on the ground, and he had been in that position for several hours. So it looks as if that is the case to do as you are putting it.
Just remind our viewers what time this happened last night, as this is an active scene at midday today.
Yes, so according to the statement from the police services, so these guys were tracked down all the way from Springs in the Eastern, and they had successfully carried out a cash in transit heist in Springs just after 5 o'clock in the afternoon. That was yesterday. And then they were traced and located on this particular scene at about just after 8 p.m. in the evening. So there's that window period between 5 and 8 p.m. in the evening yesterday. But now you're looking at the time, it's just after 12 midday. The crime scene is still active. So that talks to the gravity of investigations which had been taking place here throughout the night into this morning up until midday. And I can tell you, we still see more law enforcement vehicles coming into the scene, but we don't know what nature or what their responsibilities are in terms of these particular crimes. And so that talks to the sensitivity of the crime scene itself, because we're also advised not to get closer not to cross over the boundaries which have been set up, so that members of the public and members of the media are unable to get closer. But we'll see that pathology vehicle there being opened at the back. I think they're about to now load the body of one of the suspects who was reportedly gunned down during the shootout. So that's the latest information. As you can see, that it's very, very active to do so. So you can count the hours, and then that tells you that investigations will still continue for the next hour or so. And then maybe in the next 2 hours, that's when we can expect vehicles now to start using this road. And it's a very strategic road when you are in Johannesburg, residing in the south of Johannesburg, coming all the way from Orange Farms, from Soweto, from also Naturena, if you're heading towards the Johannesburg CBD or towards the northern parts of Johannesburg, that's Sandton and Rosebank. You use this road road in case you can't access the N1. So motorists have been advised to use alternative routes in the drive through the smaller road inside the Booysens area, or alternatively use the Soweto Highway, which is not far from the FNB Stadium, all the way to Booysens. It will take you straight to Maritzburg into the Johannesburg CBD. But also if you are going further north, you can use the N1 road. So that's what's been the case throughout the night and into the early morning, as we are still here and it's around midday now.
I do wonder, Ziniko Mhlaba, as we're speaking and you're telling us about the traffic, we can see at least in front of the pathology vehicle there's no traffic, but behind it, are there vehicles that are lined up, perhaps people who may have not been aware that the M1 is closed? Are you able to show us those visuals as you answer the question, Ziniko Mhlaba, of do we have an indication of just how many people were involved in this cash and transit heist? You noted that there's a body that the pathology services are trying to retrieve at the moment, but how many cash and transit robbers were involved?
So we do not have that number yet to do as confirmed in terms of the total number of people who are involved in this cash and transit. What we know, though, is that 2 people have been arrested and 1 person succumbed to the gunshots from that shooter. So that's the information that is as readily available for us from the authorities themselves. But in cases such as this, or in incidents of criminal activities such as this one, you will not find it will be impossible to have just 3 people being involved in the cash and transit but we can't then make assumptions. But what we know is that 2 people were arrested, but we also understand that some of them are still on the run, and that is why police agencies from different capacities are still in pursuit of those criminals. Just to answer your initial question, the visual that you see, as you rightfully said, there is no movement from the southerly direction towards the north, but if we will try to give you maybe a shot of the other direction, those people who are driving from Johannesburg CBD towards the southerly direction, traffic is back up or just a bit far from where we are right now. But we'll see if my colleague Morena can be able to give you those visuals. But because of the sun as well, the visuals might not be as clear as possible. So those vehicles you see, they're about 1 kilometer away from where we are, the crime scene. So they are allowed to come out of the Johannesburg CBD or to come down from the northerly direction up until to where we are, which is about 1 kilometer away. We were closer than earlier. We were closer to that particular side of those visuals, and I can tell you they are moving slowly. But the motorists are very understanding. No one is complaining. No one is fighting anyone. They are just being redirected towards Booysens Road, which will take them to Soweto Highway, but also some alternative roads here in Booysens to Ziniko.
Okay. Ziniko Mhlaba, thank you very much for that comprehensive update. The M1 South and North closed to traffic following a shootout between police and cash in transit robbers. As Ziniko Mhlaba was relaying, there's a body that is currently being retrieved. 1 person has been arrested, and I guess we'll get more detail from the South African Police Services throughout the course of the program on not only their investigation, but just how many people were involved in this shootout.